My name is Anna, and I was just 10 years old when it all started. I lived in a small town surrounded by golden wheat fields and dusty red dirt roads, a quiet place where everyone knew each other by name. Life was simple back then. I'd spend my days at school with my older sister Emma, then come home to help Mom shell peas in the garden or chase fireflies at dusk. It was the kind of childhood you'd see in old picture books, peaceful and uneventful, until the day I met a man who turned it into a nightmare I'd never escape. His name was Dr. Foster. It was a chilly afternoon when it began. The sky hung heavy with gray clouds, and Mom sent me to the corner store to pick up some milk and eggs. I wore my old sneakers, kicking pebbles along the familiar path while humming a tune from school. The store was only a few blocks away, and I'd made the trip 100 times before. But as I stepped out with my paper bag clutched tight, a rusty black pickup truck rolled up beside me, slow and deliberate. The window creaked down, and a man smiled at me, a smile that didn't reach his cold, hollow eyes. "Hello there," he said, his voice low and gravelly. "I'm Dr. Foster, a pediatrician from the next town over. Do you have a doctor of your own?" I nodded, uneasy. "Yeah, I do," I mumbled, shifting my weight from one foot to the other. "Do you like him?" he pressed, tilting his head. "I bet with hair as pretty as yours, any doctor would love to have you as a patient." He stared at my hair, long and chestnut brown, like it was something he wanted to touch. A shiver crawled up my spine, and I hugged the bag tighter. There was something wrong with him, something in the way his eyes lingered too long. I didn't know how to explain it, but my gut screamed at me to get away. "You should come by my office sometime," he went on, his tone sickly sweet. "I've got toys, storybooks, even candy. You'd have fun, I promise." "I've got to go home," I blurted, turning to run before he could say more. His low chuckle followed me as the truck rumbled off, and I didn't stop running until I burst through the front door, breathless. I told Mom everything, my words tumbling out in a rush, but she just patted my head. "He's probably just a friendly doctor trying to be nice," she said. I wanted to believe her, but deep down, I knew she was wrong. A few days later, I started noticing that black truck. It had rolled by our house at odd hours, sometimes in the afternoon when I got home from school, sometimes late at night when the crickets were the only sound. He'd sit behind the wheel, staring at me through the window, waving with that same empty smile. My stomach twisted every time I saw him, but I tried to ignore it, hoping he'd get bored and leave me alone. Then the phone calls started. It was a Wednesday night, and I was curled up on the couch with a book when the phone rang. Thinking it was Grandma checking in, I picked it up. "Hello, Anna," came that voice. Calm, deliberate, like he'd rehearsed it. "How's my favorite little patient doing today? Do you miss me yet?" I froze, my heart pounding so hard I thought it had burst. "How do you know my name?" I stammered, my voice barely a whisper. "I'm Dr. Foster, remember. I just want to make sure you're okay." He laughed, a dry, raspy sound that made my skin crawl. I slammed the receiver down and ran to my parents. Dad, a tall man with rough hands from years at the lumber mill, grabbed the phone and dialed the police. They came by, scribbled some notes, and shrugged. "He hasn't broken any laws," they said. "Call us if he tries something." That was when everything changed. Dad called his friend Tom, a cop from the next county, to escort me and Emma to school every day. We weren't allowed to play outside anymore. No more running through the fields or catching fireflies. Every window, every door in our little house got a new lock, but it didn't feel like enough. One night, while I wrestled with math homework in the living room, I peeked through the curtains and saw him. He was standing in our yard, bathed in the faint glow of the street lamp, staring right at me. His eyes glinted like a predator's in the dark. I screamed for Dad, who bolted outside with a baseball bat. But by the time he got there, Dr. Foster was gone, swallowed by the night. The fear grew worse with every passing day. He started calling more often, his voice seeping through the phone like poison. "Anna, I saw you in that green sweater today. It looks good on you," he said once. I'd worn that sweater to school, and the thought of him watching me made me sick. Then he mentioned Emma. "Your sister has such pretty eyes. I'd love to meet her too." One morning, I woke up to a nightmare I couldn't shake. I ran out to the porch to grab my shoes, and there was Max, my German shepherd, my best friend since I was born, hanging lifeless from the rafters, a rope knotted tight around his neck. I screamed until my throat burned, collapsing as Mom pulled me into her arms, sobbing with me. The police came, muttering about it being an accident, but I saw the muddy boot prints near the porch, too big to be Dad's or anyone else's in the family. I knew it was him. Things spiraled from there. One evening, as we sat down for dinner, a knock rattled the front door. Mom opened it cautiously, and there he was, dressed in a pizza delivery uniform, holding a cardboard box. "Got a pizza for this address," he said, his voice eerily calm. Mom's eyes narrowed. "We didn't order anything." He tipped his head, flashed that hollow smile, and walked off. But before he turned away, his gaze locked on me, sending ice through my veins. It got worse. One night, Mom and Dad were at a parent-teacher meeting, leaving me, Emma, and our little brother Liam alone. A loud bang shook the front door, followed by his voice, sharp and demanding. "Anna, open the door. I just want to talk." My heart leapt into my throat as I heard glass shatter. He was trying to break the kitchen window. I grabbed Emma and Liam, dragging them upstairs to my room. We locked the door and huddled in the corner, my hands trembling as I dialed the police. Through the crack under the door, I saw his shadow move across the hall, a glint of metal catching the moonlight. A knife. When the sirens finally wailed in the distance, he vanished, leaving a jagged cut on the window pane as proof he'd been there. School wasn't safe either. I'd catch glimpses of his truck rolling past the playground, his hand waving lazily as he called my name through the window. One day, the principal called Mom, saying Dad had come to pick me up early. But Dad was at work, nowhere near the school. I ran to my teacher, tears streaming down my face, and after that, I wasn't allowed recess anymore. I felt like a prisoner in my own life. The breaking point came on a frigid winter night. We were all in the living room, playing cards to distract ourselves from the tension that had become our normal. My brother Ben stopped mid-laugh, his eyes darting to the window. "I feel like someone's going to knock," he whispered, his voice shaky. Before anyone could respond, a thunderous boom 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 erupted from the front door, so loud the table shook. Dad grabbed his shotgun and flung the door open, but the porch was empty, except for a crumpled note on the mat. Scrawled in black ink were the words, "I'm always close." That nightmare stretched on for 18 months, a shadow I couldn't escape. Then, just as suddenly as it started, it stopped. The calls went silent. The truck stopped appearing. The air felt lighter, but the questions gnawed at me. What happened? Why did he pick me? That night, I found Dad sitting alone in the kitchen, his shotgun across his lap, his eyes red and tired. He didn't speak, just ruffled my hair when I asked if he was okay. I didn't press him, but a dark thought crept in. Had he done something to make Dr. Foster go away for good? Even now, years later, the fear lingers. I still dream of him standing by my bed, those cold eyes boring into me. I don't know what he wanted, or why he chose me. My childhood, once filled with wheat fields and fireflies, became a prison of locked doors and whispered threats. Dr. Foster didn't just stalk me, he stole something I'll never get back. And sometimes late at night, I wonder if he's still out there, watching from the shadows I can't see.